And then, of course, the wildfire, August 27th, and that burned portions of RPV and Rolling Hills, and it got into about 180 acres of the Portuguese Bend Reserve.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
And so those two stories, we can continue on, is you were out there with your camera.
Not for the fire, I was on vacation.
Okay, but you've been at McCarroll Canyon. I mean, that is is very important that they resolve that because of the impact when I think the floods in 2005. The failure of that canyon resulted in millions of dollars of lawsuits against the city because of that. So you were up in the dirt taking pictures at the canyon.
Oh yeah. And there was other fires during the year besides that one too.
So and continuing on, so that was.
And then there was a lot of important projects that the city council decided on. There was the Valero zone change, which ultimately was denied, their zone change request, and it was actually funny, well not funny, but an interesting situation because it came down to two split votes, and so ultimately the decision that stands was the Planning Commission's decision to deny the project. And of course, Marymount College, the expansion effort, we thought that we would see an end to that.
That is the story that's been going on for more than a decade.
And so when it came before the city council in, I believe it was September, the college had announced that they were offering four-year degrees, and so that presented another set of challenges, and it put a delay in the process. So we're still waiting as they conduct more environmental reviews. So
Marymount will be another big story to stay tuned for in 2010.
Yeah. And of course there was the election. We had 7 candidates vying for 2 seats on the council. Ultimately, Brian Campbell and Anthony Mizitich were the victors. And also the Measure TOT was on the ballot. The city hoped to increase its transient occupancy tax rate up.
Of course, that didn't make it.
It didn't make the cut.
It would have changed the bedroom tax at Terranea for hotels in the community, increasing it by 2%.
Yeah.
Which I think the average rate, though, for a lot of communities is like 14%. I think this community is at 12%. So that measure, if they want it to come back again, will be 2 years, if they want to bring it back and see if...
Well, I believe that you have to wait only a year, and you could call a special election to place it on the ballot again. And then we had a lot of prominent figures who passed away this year. We had Councilman Cisco Ruth. He was a city founder. He passed away in May, and he was a member of the first city council. We also had Ellen Vanderlip pass away. She was 90, and it was interesting because she had just turned 90. And
I know she was at Terranea for her 90th birthday.
She was right there, and
she's a legend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll never forget interviewing her. She was so candid.
Very colorful woman.
Yes. And then Dr. Gardner, he was a city councilman, and he was battling cancer for like the past year, and he finally lost his battle on July 25th. And actually, to tie it into Channel 33, he was a large supporter of Channel 33.
He really was. He helped put RPV TV on the map.
Yeah,
We're so grateful to him. And everything, all of these people are just tremendous community volunteers. It really makes you reflect and think about, the difference they made, and they just did it from their hearts. They worked really hard to help make this a better place. And also the city founder, John McTaggart.
Yeah, he actually was campaigning during the November 3rd election, and so he came in third, which is really good. And it was his last act was to actually cast his vote. I mean, he was just not in good shape, and that just really says a lot about the kind of person that he was. And he holds the record for years of service on the city council. And so,
well, these were all tremendous people. We'll miss them. And any other stories you want to highlight that? What are you working on now as we get into the new year? What do you have? What are you working on?
Let's see.
Just more of, you know, you have to stay tuned. You have to get the paper, right?
Yes.
Sign up and get the PB News, and then well, yeah. Well, while you're thinking about that, I'm going to let Tom think about just some of the pictures that he wants. You brought in some photos. We're going to be sharing them with our viewers.
Oh, okay, great.
Anything in particular that you want to explain, like how you got that shot? Because I don't know.
How I got that shot? I got it by
like
taking the photo and being there at the right moment, and you know. That's
well, we
really,
were talking about, like, right now it's whale watch season, and you talked about going out and getting some photos of
the blue whales. Yeah.
And that's, I mean...
That was awesome. That was like one of those special things, you know. Ashley came up to me and said, hey, they spotted blue whales off the coast, which is, you know, come on, it's the world's largest mammal, and they're not normally off our coast. Yeah. So it was like, okay, let's go out there. We went out there, and, you know, you're kind of watching them, and eventually they spot them, and they're like these big kind of humps in the water, and it was a very gray day, so it was like a kind of like a dark hump in the gray water. It wasn't making a photo. It was like you had to wait for like the whale to flip its tail, which eventually happened, and we got that picture. So,
Okay, I have a question. I'm just having a look. We have an older edition of the Peninsula News here, and of course, this was a momentous day in our community because it was the night that the newly elected leaders were sworn in, and of course, it was a wonderful memorial for Peter Gardner. And okay, this photo. Who picks the photo? Because you wrote the story. Do you pick the photo?
I usually pick several photos from a story, so they'll have like 2 or 3 photos to choose from, and then we'll go from there.
Right, because of course that night a lot of things happened. You had the whole new council that was sworn in, the 2 that left, and so I just thought it was interesting that it was special that you chose this one.
Yeah. We felt that was important. It was, you know,
to remember Councilman Gardner. I just didn't know how that all worked out. As we're sort of wrapping it up, this first part of the show, because we have Pat and Frank Brown waiting, the second part to talk about what they were covering in the community. Anything you want to add about just sort of why you like covering news in this community and being part of the Peninsula News?
I mean, the community is just so great. We have so many generous people, so many, you know, interesting people, and I'm enjoying getting to know everyone. So.
And how about for you? You've been here a while.
Yeah, it's definitely the community. As I said, I was on vacation during the big fire, but we had no lack of photos because I got so many emails from local residents saying, hey, do you need a photo? I got these photos. So we had all these great photos that local residents took of their, you know, covering their own news. It was great.
I wonder if you both have any role models in this business and just sort of how you continue to push yourself to be better at what you're doing.
Well, the ultimate, I think, is Oprah for me. Just, you know, she's huge and how she started off and just her success story. Locally, I like Pat Harvey.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about for you? Do you have any particular, you know, photographers that you really admire their work?
Yeah, like as a kid, I always looked at Life magazine and the photos in Life magazine, and there was one photographer, Eugene Smith, that did like this great thing up. It was the Family Doctor, where, you know, he'd always do these great long kind of form things, and I always liked his work. So, and Mary Ellen Mark, who is also a photographer, does great long form kind of.
In terms of your craft, how do you like this whole shift from film to digital, and are you all good with all that?
I'm good with it.
You're good with it.
It
makes you a lot more efficient.
I don't spend half my day in a dark room. It's awesome.
As long you help so that we're not in the dark. You keep us informed. Before we wrap it up, holiday time here, and how do you guys spend the holidays? Any New Year's resolutions? Any?
Well, my family's in Temecula, so I'll be back in Temecula with the family. I have a lot of siblings, so that's always fun catching up with them. My sister just gave birth to a baby boy,
congratulations.
So I love just seeing my nephew and seeing all the new things that he can do now. He's crawling, so pretty soon he'll be walking, and so I'll just be at home with my family, enjoying family time.
Okay, how about for you? Maybe.
We're gonna spend it at home, me and my wife. Usually we're like traveling the country, going to different relatives, but this year we decided, no, Thanksgiving and Christmas we're going to do at home, and then we're just inviting people.
And when you have your holiday gatherings, is it expected you're taking the pictures?
You know, it just happens.
Right.
I just make sure I have the camera in the car and it's ready to go.